Okay. Welcome everyone to the next Q&A topic. It's great to see some different participants from across Australia and New Zealand. So we've got Yyan from Launceston. We've got Graham from YuNiOn Sydney. Joel from Cairns Taiko. Actually tuning in from, where are you tuning in from, Joel?
I'm in Okayama, Japan right now.
Whoa. Wow, awesome.
Wow.
Mike and Ken from New Zealand, Taiko. And Toshi Sakamoto from Wadaiko Rindo. And I've just got a phone call coming in. So. Fantastic. So we'd love to hear about your teaching, your Taiko classes in your group, how many classes you have, who you teach to, and how many nights you train. Start off with Yyan in Launceston.
Hi, we've basically got a beginners class and also a performers / advanced players class. But especially in Launceston, we have a lot of kids focus. We're run out of the PCYC, Police Citizen Youth Club, I believe, and we run a lot of sort of satellite workshops at schools. Usually we have about 10 to 12 schools signed up, and then sort of that funnels into the sort of system.
Mute. Graham.
Hi. Between Masa and myself, we teach a number of different classes, right from year 4 and 5 school kids. So like they're about 9, 10 years old. And then some more older kids in like high school age, right through to community classes. We've got 2 of those community classes. So they're anybody from 18 to whatever age they want to play. So so quite a broad spectrum of classes that we teach. And there's probably, I don't know, probably about 10 classes in a week.
Fantastic. Now Joel sent us an awesome video that shows us a little bit of an insight as to their dojo and how they train. So we'll show that video now, and just so that everyone gets to see that. So let's watch the video.
We have 2 classes a week, Tuesday and Wednesday, and the team does training on Wednesdays and Fridays. If you get here before team practice starts at 6 o'clock, there's 30 minutes you can practice what you like. So you head over to this corner here where we have all of laminated copies of our sheet music. You grab whatever piece it is that you're working on and take it over to a drum.
Awesome, Joel. That was fantastic. Thanks for submitting that video. Anything else to add?
yeah, that's the current post-COVID situation. We had more beginners classes before then. Just following on from Graham's mention of the ages of the people that he's teaching, we don't have any sort of age limits, but generally our classes are geared towards adults. Some kids come along and try, some of them do okay, but I've also had some older teenagers who haven't been able to have the maturity to be in a class with mixed genders and people who may be their teachers at their schools, etc. So yeah, kids is a little bit of a grey zone. We don't have kids classes, but there are some kids who participate in our classes that are geared essentially towards adults. So
great. Mike and Ken.
Yeah, we don't sort of separate out in any way age. There's in our group, we've got at the moment about a maximum of only like 14 people. A lot of those people have been in the group for quite some time. So we don't get a very big fluctuation at all in our membership. So the people we've had for a reasonable amount of time. They're basically all adults. We only recently just had a mum and her son join us, and he's like 16. So he's basically the youngest person in our group. As for practices, we practice only like twice a week for 2 hours each. So it's 4 hours of practice basically a week. And everybody's just in the class together. We don't separate anybody out by levels just because of the restrictions we have in the class, in the room that we get. We basically operate at the University of Waikato. So we basically just use a room at the university. So we basically just work within our means.
And can I add that Wadaiko is actually, we regard ourselves as a performance group rather than a teaching group. So the teaching is teaching people who want to become performers.
Yeah, fantastic. Toshi.
Yes, we have 12 drumming class now. So beginners, intermediate, advanced classes. We have 4 terms and 8 classes a term. And sometimes we have a special class, the weekend class. But regularly class is 8 lessons, 8 lessons per 3 months. Yeah. So yeah, sorry.
And how many students all up? It's like a more than 100 students, isn't it?
Yes, about 100 students. Sorry, I'm sorry. And also we have a kids class, so family class as a parents with kids. So we have one class. Yeah, it's totally more than 100.
Yeah, fantastic. And at Taiko On in Perth, we have 2 training nights a week. So Tuesday nights starts from 6 o'clock and goes through till 10:30, and starts at beginners, and it just gradually gets sort of harder and harder all the way through to the performance group. And Wednesday nights, it's really people who are learning to perform. But I also run a lot of weekend workshops. So the weekend workshops are designed for one-off Taiko experience for fitness, music, exercise, and just lots of fun. But we really try to use that as our recruitment tool, because we're always looking to recruit talented musicians who can join our Taiko team. And Wednesday evening is actually our advanced Taiko training. So the Taiko training for ourselves as the core group of original members, and we train sort of separate stuff, and we put on separate events. Yeah. So next, Yyan, in terms of training, how do you manage, I guess, different levels of students and different pieces or different levels of experience?
I guess this is one of the things that plagues all of the Taiko groups, I believe. It's like why Taiko has mentioned. You have a lot of it's like Groundhog Day. It's hard to build up a group dynamic, and a bunch of people go and a bunch of people come in, and it's very difficult. So yeah, so we used to have more different separate levels, but it's of late, because of probably also COVID. We've had a lot of sort of less people, so we've just sort of lumped everyone together for now. But I think, moving forward, I think there is a scope I think we all should have possibly some more sort of online engagement type things, maybe moving in forward in the digital world, perhaps. But that's sort of what I've been thinking about in recent years.
Fantastic. And you have Mark Brown there doing some of the teaching, or teaching different classes, is that right?
As I said, there's a lot of focus on sort of more of a separate arm. In fact, probably if you look at that, of schools engagement. So we use Taiko as as a class or a workshop in schools. So dealing with low socioeconomic areas, and using it as a sort of almost a therapy for kids, at risk kids. So we run that very successfully through many different schools. So the kids come in and sort of get a bit of stuff out of their system, and then they can go back. And it has been very successful the last sort of 10, 15 years, that sort of model of many different schools using that.
Yeah, and I'm never ceased to be amazed at the passion that Mark Brown has to really help improve people's lives through the drumming sessions that he does. So I think it's really impressive. Yeah, thanks, Yyan. Graham.
Having different levels of students in a class is always difficult, and that's why I like to always try and have pieces of music that are on different levels to start with. So for instance, we recorded, and you'll see it in the festival, a version of Yatabayashi, and there was only a few people who actually knew a Chudaiko theme, and so I taught some people a really short Tamare section, and other people couldn't even do that, so I just got them to play the bass rhythm. And that's the beauty of a piece like that, is that you can have different levels of players involved, and everyone's challenged in their own way, but we're not going over someone's head in particular, because if someone's just started playing the taiko, you can't teach them the Chudaiko theme for Yatabayashi. It's just way too hard, and so they'll get despondent and leave. So you want to try and engage them, but you also want to try and engage the more experienced drummers. And so that's why I think a piece of music that inherently has those abilities with a more experienced player, and you can do a simple version of it, I think is a really good starting point for me to direct and to have people involved and get people challenged, but not be over their head.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I think we all are dealing with these same sort of issues, aren't we? It's really how do you try to make sure everyone is getting something out of the practice session or the teaching. Yeah, fantastic. How about you, Joel?
So we have beginners classes, and we use a different beginners piece of music every term. We cover that in about 10 weeks from start to finish. At the end of the term, have a students an opportunity to invite their family members to come and watch what they've been doing. And then because it's a different piece every term, people are not, so upset about doing the beginners class again, because they're learning a different piece of music anyway. And with the repeaters, I also let them know that, this is your second time around, so I'm going to be raising the expectations. I'm going to be seeing straighter arms when you're going up. I want your body to be lower, keep your back straighter. Different level of expectations for people within the same class. So when you differentiate that way, as Graham said, within one piece, you can do the differentiation with different people playing different parts, but also with everybody doing the same part, you can still have different expectations of people at different levels. And that's how we go through our beginners classes. And then we invite people up to the intermediate classes after they've done at least 2 of those. And then we invite them to step up to our performance team.
Fantastic. Thanks, Joel. Mike and Ken.
For us, as I said earlier, we've got 2 practice nights a week, Monday and Thursday. So Monday's always traditionally basically been for our beginners. The more advanced people can obviously still attend, but at least they know what the expectation is when they come along. So they sort of know that, we'll be running over some of what we kind of call our typical, beginners piece. We try and do something that's like simple and stable, and we work on that. And you work with the beginners, and you do that for so long, and then you have a break. And sometimes we'll give a demonstration of like more advanced songs, so at least the beginners get to see what they can kind of lead into, like over time. And Thursday is traditionally definitely just for the beginners. So when you first join our group, we don't invite the beginners at all. Their expectation is only one practice session a week. And then as you get better, because our expectation is that we only let you join the group if you want to perform. It's the only way you can give back to Taiko. If you just want us to just teach you and that's it, and then you never become a performer, that doesn't really work for us because we're a small group. So that's how you're kind of giving back. So yeah, basically beginners Monday, more advanced on Thursday. But when, of course, you're on the class together, it gets tricky, right? Because sometimes your advanced people get a little bit bored. One thing we found that helped with us is that we can actually, only just very recently, we can break out. We've got like another room. So you can always tell your more advanced people, if this is, getting a little bit boring for you, feel free to do a bit of improv or just go and buddy up or, with some other people, and then just pop next door. And then later we'll all come together. We want to make sure that when we end a 2-hour session, that we all end together. So it's really important to get together at the end and do one piece all together. So it sort of brings the group back.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Mike. Toshi.
Yes. I have 3 classes a day. So started at 5:30, and second 6:30, and third one 7:40. So 5:30 is a beginner's class, and second intermediate, and 7:30 is advanced classes. We have many pieces. Some pieces for beginners and some pieces for intermediate and advanced classes. So we have many pieces, and we learning each classes. And sometimes we pick up the student and invite upper classes, and so sometimes change. So when I teach, it's easy to divide it each level, but a student want different classes. Some people want upper class watching the other performance. It's a good opportunity. So we sometimes mix classes, but basically it's separated classes. And weekend we have gathered and play it's one piece together. So it depends.
Well, that's really great that you've got so many students and then so many classes that you're able to provide different levels for the different number of students, where with smaller groups, you've got many different levels and only a few classes. So yeah, you've got a really well done for creating such a great following for your Taiko classes in Melbourne. It's fantastic. In Perth, we with only 2 training nights, we've definitely wrestled with trying to provide the best class for our students, and it always changes. So I think I've got a good idea, and then 6 months later I go, oh, it's not really working. I'll try a different idea. So it's just constantly evolve, but I am very laissez-faire, and so if students wants to come to a class, they can come to the class, no problem. Come to any class you want. But of course, there's some students who will come to a class, be completely out of their depth and love it and come back for more. And that's me. That's my personality. That's how I learn Taiko. There are other students who, even if they feel like they're not getting it, even if I think they're doing pretty good, they get really sort of dejected, and maybe they go home and go, oh, I'm just no good at it. I'm just hopeless. I'm not going to go back to that class. So it's really difficult to try and evaluate the personality of the student, what sort of class is going to work for them. And I might just suggest, look, let's do this class for a while, but it's difficult. So you can't keep everyone. I think most of our students probably inclined to want to perform at some stage. It's never really a part of, the beginner's lessons until we see some promise and until they show some interest in learning the songs and until they want to come to the second night a week for extra training. Then there's definitely a clear path. So Taiko On is one performance brand, if you like. If someone books a Taiko On performance, they kind of know what they're getting. Whereas sometimes we get a community request and we perform under a different brand, which we call Koi Daiko. And we have a different t-shirt. And so with Koi Daiko, we really encourage students to get up in public and perform, whether they feel like they're ready or not. It's really just experience, practice performing in a fairly casual setting. So, and that's where we really develop junior performers to become sort of more confident performers that may join the Taiko On team later on. But structuring the classes is very challenging. And it really depends on the personality in the individual. We've had a 7-year-old boy join our Taiko classes recently, and he arrived at his first class and he already knew one of our pieces, Matsuri. He'd watched it on YouTube a million times, he'd practiced it at home, and he already knew how to play it when he came to the class. So he gives us another challenge of someone who just learns so quickly. And he comes along with his mum and plays with his mum as well. And she's a quick learner too. So that's really good. And of course, then we have people who are coming along and it's really just their weekly fitness session and they just love drumming and they may be enjoying just almost the meditation of just repeating and maybe excluding other thoughts from their mind, but also getting that physical exercise. So that's sort of Taiko is different for everybody, I suppose. So we try to cater for everyone, but that the challenge is then meeting everyone's expectations. That makes it really hard. Any other thoughts or comments, Yyan?
You've sort of spoken on a lot of different issues. Like Taiko is very different things to very different people. Some is a meditation, some is exercise, some is a community thing, some is a performance things. So I've recently, even just when you said that, I was thinking, I should do a Taiko class for meditation or something for people just like that. Which it's an interesting thing. I've started doing Taiko in a pub as well recently. Again, just to try to cater for different needs, I guess, or different ways of seeing the Taiko thing. It is an interesting thing moving forward, especially in Australia. We could try different things.
Fantastic. Graham?
I think what Mike said before, it's about sharing your knowledge, whatever that is. So while we don't demand that people have to play or have to perform or whatever, but it's just about getting out there if you can, even if you can just play a bass rhythm or just something, because what you're doing in that moment is sharing what you know. So I think that's really important.
Fantastic. Joel?
I explained to our beginners in their first lesson that Taiko is really relaxing. It might be a physical exercise, but it's also like meditation as well. It's not relaxing because you can belt the crap out of the drums. It's relaxing because if you're thinking about anything else other than what you're doing right now, you will stuff up. So you have to be 100% focused. And for that 1 hour of Taiko training, we're not allowed to use the dirty 4-letter word that starts with W or talk about anything that may be causing stress in our life outside the dojo. It's a stress-free space. So that's one of the first things that we say. And I also wanted to pick up on what Wadaiko said as well about people in the performance team, that they are there with the expectation to perform. And that is basically how we go when we invite people up to the performance team as well. The beginners classes, yes, they're very structured. We go through a piece line by line over 10 weeks. And then we end that with a performance. But if you're going to step up into the performance team, you won't get that kind of structure in teaching. We might be practicing a certain piece for a couple of months in the build up to a performance and then not see that piece again for quite a while. because it doesn't fit other gigs that we're doing. But if you're in the performance team, the expectation is that you will be performing on stage. So that's how you're giving back to the team. You don't get the kind of structure in the performance team, but by watching other people and learning one piece at a time. And I generally try to make sure that for every event that everybody gets on the stage at least once. So even if that's our finale piece that we always play at every event, everybody knows how to play that. And so we'll have everybody on the stage for the finale at least. And the more practices you come to, the more pieces you learn, the more you can participate, and then the more you can give back.
Fantastic. Mike and Ken.
Yeah, for us, one of our underlying principles is commitment. Like we've always said, if you wanted to join our Taiko group, I think Ken once said it the best. It's our only expectation for you is that you have a sense of rhythm. We'll teach you how to strike a drum. We'll teach you how to stand and breathe and all that kind of stuff. But you just got to have a sense of rhythm. That's the one thing you can't. I don't believe you can teach. It's got to be a thing inside. You can listen to a radio and bop along and keep a little beat. If you've got that sense of rhythm, then we'll take you. But we value commitment because, as you said, all people learn in different ways and at different speeds. So some people learn like really quickly, and they could be up and running and performing with us quite quickly. But you don't want to have the slow learners never ever performing. So it's a bit like an orchestra, like Graham was saying. You just give them a really simple beat. They can be in the background, just sort of going don don and beating along. Or in our case, sometimes we just have simple things, just like flags, just like waving a flag. So you might not even be drumming at all, but yet you're still part of the actual performance.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Toshi.
Yes. As you know, so Taiko is a variety style. Okay, so when I go back to Japan, I always research the many Taiko groups, and I really want to introduce many styles to the student, because if I only know one style, so student knows only one. So because I have many styles, so and I teach, for example, pop, like a pop or like a jazz or traditional and new song, so a variety style. So always, so I introduce many styles and can choose you can choose one style he likes. So I'm positive.
Fantastic, thank you. Look, I'm sorry we might have missed some of the things you mentioned. The sound bounced out a little bit, but I think we got the gist that there are lots of different styles to learn of Taiko. Yeah, thanks, Toshi. I'm not sure if I have anything to add, really. It's been a fantastic discussion, and really great to hear the similarities of, I guess, the way we deal with some issues, but then all the differences of how different groups worked with their own sessions. Thank you so much. It was really great to have you all together, and I hope everyone is enjoying that at home. We have other discussion topics coming up, but for now we'll move on to a different part of the festival, and we'll be back again soon. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Thanks so much. We'll see you later.